Good afternoon, world. Thank you and welcome to By Any Means podcast. My name is Henry
Yay.
Lucas.
And I am Sharita Walden.
What's going on, sis?
Ooh, I'm doing pretty good today. You see that smile?
I do. It's hard to. It's not that convincing. I know you've been going through some stuff, and you've been in the trenches. You've been putting in a lot of work. Today, uh, already going into the fourth month of the year. You've been quite busy. So
Yes, yes, yes. But that's the passion that drives the work. So yes, you see this smile is full of fire and passion. Before we get started, I am going to encourage people to like and share our podcast as we get started. We have a really good one today, but we don't want to get started without you. We really need you all to be in tune for this hour and a half because, baby, it's about to be lit.
yeah, and not just like and share. Please like and share. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel and go over to kyhrc.org and hit that donate button. And we would appreciate any type of monetary donation you could provide. And if that's too much of a stretch, reach out to us through our website, and you can give other ways. You could give your time if you have other resources. We would certainly, in these times, appreciate any type of support and love that you would give this organization that has been at it for over a decade.
Yes, right? Over a decade. Um, I have a question, Henry, before we get started.
For me,
Yes, a
okay.
really exciting one that Athena, our development strategist, did with us as a check-in for one of our meetings. If you could be an animal today, what animal would you be to describe your day? Like what animal would you be?
Like based off of what I've been up to today, like what animal would that or what
Yep. Your animal, how you feel, your animal, what you up to, what you will be up to, because we only halfway through this day.
well, you know, I'm feeling very much like a lion today. I'm feeling very much like I'm in my power. I'm feeling very
Mm.
much like I'm in control of the kingdom. I am in control of all the people and all the elements in my life. So
Mm.
it resonates right now.
Cool. Well, mine is still the same from that question. It is a ram. I mean, I am an Aries, but I feel,
I thought you was gonna say because you was hard headed, yo.
man, I am ready to ram. Like, I feel like I really am centering my Aries energy right now. So it really does, and it's showing up. Like you said, I see how you are moving. What's going on? You've been really busy. Yes, I have, Henry. Our community, it feels good because the busyness is actually in the community work and aligning with our people.
Yeah.
Um, we've been having a lot of conversations, Henry, around harm reduction. And I give to this. This is why we really want people to join this podcast because I do feel like it's a reflection of the work that we're doing and the conversations we're having
Yeah.
through this podcast. And by any means, we're going to make sure that we're connecting with our community. But the biggest conversation right now is really getting people to understand that harm reduction is not just isolated to the people who use drugs. Like that is like the biggest piece of information and engagement and conversations. Even when we went to Atlanta last week for Popular Democracies organizing, it was so cool to be in a space to get people to see we're not just isolated to one group of folks. We are inclusive of our entire community. And I was eager and excited to get on this platform today to have such a raw and unfiltered and unbound conversation around what it really looks like to meet people where they're at and not jump ahead of them and just decide I'm going to do for you and not even ask you.
Yeah.
Harm reduction. Because we got our titles, we got our here. The first thing that we can really talk about is we're in the space of harm reduction and in the space of substance use. You're an LCSW and an LCADC, and I'm an LCADC. How how do we show up? How do you show up as a harm reductionist in the line of work that you're in?
Well, I just want to go back to something you said. I'm an LCSW and an LCADC, and I'm actually not those things. Those things are actually credentials that
Mm,
I received from efforts and trainings and passing tests. So I happen to carry a couple credentials with me, but I am not an LCSW and an LCADC.
come on, speak
And
to
I,
it.
and and I think though, and I say that to answer your question, because a lot of times what we over identify with limits our ability to truly meet people where they're at, right? And we have a lot of things that we over identify with our gender, our race, credentials, where we live, how much money we make, the titles we have, at our job. But I can't, approach everybody and say, I'm the owner, I'm the CEO, I'm
Hmm.
the founder, right? Because that's automatically going to create judgment and separation between the people that we're really trying to reach, the people that I'm trying to connect with, right?
Mm,
So I think like the biggest thing is being safe, being a safe, understanding presence that listen more than they speak,
hmm.
and to ask more questions than the statements that I might make. And I think that for me is how I meet folks, where they're at, because it's so disarming. Because we're in a state right now where everyone is afraid and everyone's awareness is heightened, and people are looking for what's wrong, what's bad, and what's against them,
Hmm.
even including us. We might be considered the opposition to
Mm,
folks in the community because of certain partnerships, or the work that we do is it is considered controversial.
hmm.
And I got to know who the person is that I'm approaching, so that not so that I can switch up who I am to meet them where they're at,
Mm.
right? So that I can really meet myself where I'm at and check my own judgments and my own biases and my own projections of how they might interfere and create separation between me and the person or the community that I'm wanting to engage with.
I like that. I think what I've been hearing from people in the work of social service, and so that they can understand that connection, because a lot of people they feel, with all that being said, they land on their letters, and I'm going to acknowledge that for them. I hear you, I get it, because some folks are not there yet. They're not there to take in, before your letters you are this whole entire human being, and we're there. Folks, this is how we get there, though. We get there by acknowledging who we are as a human being. This is who I am as a human existing in this world. And then these additional pieces. So for today's platform, we'll have a couple of guests on here, because as a harm reductionist, we don't get to tell people how we can support them. We get the opportunity to say how and ask, how can I support you? How do we show up for our people is the topic. Our people being a very wide variety. And this month, we will be talking to people. We're starting right now today. We're starting with people who are directly impacted by some of the administrative decisions that have happened over the last few months. We are inviting people to this space to use their own voice. And as we go through this journey this month, we'll be following up with people who are in position to make decisions. Because that's meeting people where they're at. It's meeting both ends. You want to jump in there, Henry?
Yeah, I want to share something I just read recently, and it's making complete sense for me. How do we show up for our people? Knowledge is not enough.
Mm.
Knowledge alone is potentially harmful to myself and to other people. So really what we need is not just folks that have a knowledge of like harm reduction, but we need folks to show up that have an understanding of harm reduction and all the concepts and all the complexities of what harm reduction is. And it's from that place of understanding that we can really have the greatest impact on the communities that we serve.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, without further ado, what I would love to do is bring in one of our first guests. I am going to let our first guest introduce herself, Sophie. I'm excited. Sophie does work in the community, but like I said, Sophie.
Yo, what's going on?
Hi, how are y'all doing? Can y'all hear me?
Love to have you here. Can you share with the people, our guests? We got quite a few folks on here right now. Can you share who you are? Introduce yourself to the world, ma'am.
Okay, well, my name is Sophie Marie, and I am a 34-year-old woman of trans experience, born and raised in the West End of Louisville, Kentucky, but now I live in Lexington. I work at Voices of Hope at the Recovery Community Center on the Kiprick grant, which focuses on engaging Black and Brown participants in harm reduction strategies and providing them access to the same quality of care as their white counterparts.
Well, thank you, Sophie, for sharing. Yes. So, Sophie, you're in the work with us. So you know that level of harm reduction that we do.
Yes, absolutely.
But before I jump into the conversation, Henry, I think I should ask Sophie the same question though. What do you think about the animal?
I was waiting.
Okay, Sophie.
Let's do it. Let's see what kind of zoo we can come up with today.
Right. What animal, if you could describe what animal you would be today that would describe who you are today, like you heard me say to Henry, your day, what you're doing, whatever that is for you, what would that animal be and why?
Okay. If I was an animal, I would be a bird because I'd be shitting on these bitches, but I'm just I'm just playing. I really did. I'm just joking. But I would be I don't want to say lioness, but
Mm.
I I don't know. I think it's giving lioness. Just uh, full of wisdom and
Mm.
stepping back and taking it all in and really having to, if I have to, going in for the attack for my loved ones in my community. So today I'm feeling lioness, but tomorrow I might be feeling phoenix. It goes. One day I might be feeling sloth. It come and goes. But today I'm feeling lioness. Yes.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that. And I think it actually brings us into the first question of our conversation. I'm glad you mentioned that being a lioness for your community. Um, as a harm reductionist, I would love to know, what does true harm reduction look like for your community that goes beyond service and policies, as you know, because you do the service. But when
Mhm.
you think of harm reduction for the communities that you identify with, that you belong to, that resonate with you, what would you share with this platform and the people who are joining us today?
So for me, true harm reduction goes beyond providing clean syringes and naloxone and resources. It's about creating spaces where people are truly safe, feel seen and valued, and uh, I feel as though it starts at the top when organizations hire people with lived experience, including Black and Brown people, people with trans experience, and things like that. That's not necessarily in leadership. It's great, but sometimes it's just nice for people who look like me to get entry level positions. I feel as though Voices of Hope really took a I don't want to say chance, but took a chance on me and gave me a great opportunity. And it's there are other people who will see that, just like I saw um, Black and brown queer people working here before me and thinking, oh, I really could do that. So that's how it starts when it comes to these organizations. And it also means ensuring that harm reductions are culturally competent. If you're gonna provide hair care products or shampoo, that you should have Black hair care products and stuff for our Latinx brothers and sisters,
Mhm.
and just different communities. So it's about being culturally competent, trauma informed, and people should be able to access these services without fear of police discrimination or being forced in treatment. And with that part about being forced treatment, harm reduction is about having your participants be part of the process. You know what I mean? Like it's
Mm.
like, hey, these this is the resources. You gotta go to this treatment, and this is what's going to work for you. Harm reduction is one part, because harm reduction is on a big spectrum, and it's this and it's that, and it's multifaceted. Um, but harm reduction is one part of harm reduction, I should say, is about allowing our participants and our clients and our patients to be a part of the conversation and be, a part of, their journey. For me, um, it has also been when I have felt seen as me, as Sophie, as a whole person, a Black trans woman, not just as an addict or someone struggling to survive. You know, it's really, I mean, like I said before, it's multifaceted. I can go on and on, but at the bottom of the line, it's about offering real connection, not just services. Because at the end of the day, harm reduction isn't just about keeping people alive. It's about making sure they have a life worth living and, a life that they want to continue to add to. and you know, growing.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And you reminded me. Um, we have a question in our chat, and I'll get back to that in a second. But you really inspired me, Sophie. One of the things that I do currently is I own a mental health practice, and we accept all insurances: Medicaid, Medicare, commercial insurance. We have a sliding scale, and I believe in making high quality therapy accessible for all people. Right? Okay. Well, a couple years ago, I was tabling an event in the west end of Louisville at a well-known church, and it was a health fair. And I was there on behalf of my organization, and I had our table, and I had a little tablecloth. I went to the store. I got some fresh flowers. We got our little ink pens and our stress balls. We have our flyers there. And I knew going into it that there wouldn't be very many people that looked like me there, and which I'm cool with. And I'm there, and I'm standing behind the table, and people are just walking past my booth, right? And I'm wondering, well, what's going on? And I look down, and on one of our flyers, that's talking about the services we provide, it was a white family that was represented on our brochures. And I saw that and just had this awareness and was just like, damn. And so instead of feeling ashamed, feeling guilt, taking them off the table, I left them there. And I took that as a learning opportunity of like how important, like even the literature, the brochures, our branding, our websites, meeting people where they're at, not just one off, right, out in the streets, but like we truly meet people where they're at on many different levels, and how important that is too. So thank you for that reminder. We have one of our viewers, Sophie. They ask, how does Sophie um, feel about how the community is acting or responding about harm reduction work, and what others are doing to provide harm reduction services in Lexington. You have any thoughts on that?
Mm, great
Um,
question.
I think that unfortunately, Lexington, and it's not Lexington, I think it's Kentucky as a whole, we really have a very, very long way to go. Um, Harm reduction, and it's no tea, no shade to, the 12-step programs, but harm reduction keeps getting like lumped in with and also shaded by 12-step programs sometimes. Um, and I don't think that people realize that, the 12-step model, can fall under harm reduction. People would think that harm reduction is about, helping and enabling people and, help making it easier for people to use. But I don't think people really realize that harm reduction is about reducing the harm in one's life so that they can be on a path or a road to a better life, a life of quality, a life worth living, and sometimes it can be a little bit radical. And I think here in Kentucky, um, uh, some of the radical ideas that we see in Colorado, like in New York and Canada, like the safe injection sites and medical grade uh, substances that like in Norway and things. I just feel as though Kentucky has a long way to go as far as like how harm reduction work is going here, and it's like sometimes I feel like at the organization I work for, and I love them to death, we speak this harm reduction talk, but when it's really time to talk about these radical parts about it, it's hush hush. Don't say,
Mm-hmm.
don't say that. You know what I mean? You know, don't talk about how medical marijuana has helped you live a better life.
Yeah.
Uh, stuff like that. So I just feel like we have a long way to go, and it's okay. When I first got into the recovery realm and sphere, I thought harm reduction was not a joke, but I thought it was crazy. You know what I mean? I was, complete abstinence all the way. And you know what I mean? Like anything else, you're gonna die. You feel me? So it's just uh we got to put the knowledge out there. So what I try to do in my position is I really try to put the facts out there and stigmatize. I've learned a lot of things through Unchained and the community impact community that me and Sharita both sit on. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that the destigmatization um, is very important. Like we really
Yeah.
have to do that. Now, on the side, no, before that question, one more thing I'd like to add that you were sharing about the flyer with the white family. That's so important, though. You know what I mean? That people in these advertisements and these posts on social media, like, you know, we gotta have a little color or a little some different in these staff photos. Like we're seeing, these organizations post and everybody looks the same. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
their advertisements, everybody looks the same. And I know we're in Kentucky, but it just goes a little bit against what we're really trying to do. We're really trying to make everybody feel seen, everybody feel valued, everybody's pathway. You know what I mean? We want it to work out for them. Um, and when you brought that up, it really, brought that out in me, and I wanted to comment on that as well. So,
No, thank you so much for sharing that. It actually leads into one of our final questions for this part of this segment, which is how do we actually move from performative allyship to real risk taking solidarity and harm reduction? Now, I'm going to say this: it is important for us to hear from voices from individuals who are directly impacted. And over the last week, as you have seen with one of our trans sisters and what took place, the harm that took place against her last week. And we won't go into detail about that particular situation, but being very intentional about how we really show up as harm reductionists to be allies when attacks are coming against our, in this conversation, the purpose of this conversation, our Black and brown trans brothers and sisters. It is I can be angry and be passionate and be ready to fight, but that's still a form of performance if I'm not engaging the people who are directly impacted because I'm just coming from my own feelings of anger. So, from your thoughts, and it may not be something you can fully dive into if you just have one thought or if you have a few things to say, but it's how do we move from performative allyship to real risk taking solidarity and harm reduction?
um, I think that those who come from privilege need to show up in these spaces
Mm,
and learn, do the learning. Just from this little bit of time that I've spent, and I always get emotional. Um, just seeing your aura and how you are, Henry. I don't know if anybody's ever told you, but you are doing the work. You really are.
Thank you for that.
You really are doing the work. I can see it in you. I hear it in your language. And I did like a little, like quick little like look on social media and I see it in your in your work. So I hate to use you as like a poster child, but this what you're doing is real solidarity. You know what I mean. You're showing, like you said, you look different at the church. You're showing up in these places and unlearning things. I'm not saying that you come from a background, I don't know anything about your background, but unlearning the things that we were taught and really going out and being put in these uncomfortable situations or these awkward situations and and becoming a part of. Um, for example, um, if some harm reduction groups are serious about supporting black and brown trans people, they need to challenge um, the policing that's going on in our communities and stand up and fight the discrimination and create job opportunities for these women, these trans people. I don't like I've talked to people about it at work and I've talked to like leadership here. I do not think sometimes people grasp how like life saving all of this has been for me. It, I've had jobs at factories and things like that, and that was a little bit uncomfortable being around different environments, but um, it was either it was this or sex work. So um,
That's real.
having this job and this opportunity really took me away from sex work where I've been able to hang up my heels and I am done with sex work, completely done. But like if I was to lose this job, like to survive, that would be the easiest thing for me because that's what I know. Now, of course, I'm smart. I'm a harm reduction girly, and I know my thing. So I'm on the. At the time when I was tricking, I was on the prep. I was using the condoms. You know what I mean? I was screening my participants, and sex work is work, you know what I mean. I will always wear my escorting days with honor because I taught others. Even when I was doing it on drugs, and even when I was doing it just to survive and pay bills, like it's a real job. It really is. And uh, I don't know where I was going with this because I got emotional, but
It's okay.
yeah,
What,
it's
just how I want to say, just how like the organization you're with and how harm reduction didn't just save your life, but it helped you find yourself, and it helped you find your purpose, and it helped you sort of get you pointed in a general direction that ultimately you could take your own agency in to direct your own life. Right,
mhm,
in just a few years you're going to be a licensed clinical social worker. You see what I mean? And so thank you for your vulnerability, right? And like just the impact of not just the place of employment, but how harm reduction, it saves our life so that we can find ourselves and then take the necessary agency to direct the course of our life for what we believe is best for us.
mhm,
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for that.
yeah.
The
And we
people,
take these opportunities, you know, like someone gave me a chance and employed me and exchanged me. So now I'm on my come up, and when I am able to employ somebody, I'll employ, you know,
Mm.
the different,
yes,
the weirdo, the
yeah,
queer, the fag, the tranny, the whatever. You know what I mean? The guy that used to be a meth head with no teeth, or you know what I mean. I'll employ that different person, and then hopefully that catches on. And if they come up when they in a part of, leadership, they do it, and it keeps going on. In a perfect world, that's what I would want. So hopefully that's what happens. I mean, on my end, whenever I do get my degree and I plan to do whatever it is that I do, I'm going to be looking out for, the diversity of it all. And I hate those because we've used them so much. But we know the people. We know the people. It's the people that look like us. It's the people doing things like us. Um, yeah, and I
Yeah.
want to thank you all for letting me be a part of this. Absolutely, 100%.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Sophie. I really appreciate you spending time with us. If you had one more thing that you felt like this is important, I really need people to walk away with understanding this. This one last thought,
Um,
suggestion, or statement, what would it be?
uh, a few things. Trans women are women. Don't believe the hype. Fox News is not real. The ones that you see on Fox News is not a good representation of what a trans woman looks like. If you would like to put a face on trans identities, here I am. What else? Yeah, just operate in love. We're not gonna get anywhere, through hate. What's that saying? Violence cannot beget violence. Only love does that, or whatever.
Yes.
We can't operate with hate. But if one thing, if I want to leave with anybody, I would like to say a quote that I've seen after doing a little bit of research. I see harm reduction as a way of engaging people as part of that path to recovery. So that's what I want to leave people with. And that's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sophie.
Yes.
We'll
Yes.
follow up with you later. Love you
Yes.
so much.
I would love to come back again. Thank you for this. This was my first time doing something like this, and I'm
Oh,
thankful. So thankful. So
All right.
see
bye.
ya.
Bye bye.
Wow. What a gift.
That was an amazing
What a
gift.
gift. Yeah.
Wow.
You, one thing I'm taking away from that is, man, we got to give people a shot, and I think about my life, my whole life. And I think about all the people that had taken a shot, had taken a risk, saw something in me, believed in me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, and without those people, I certainly wouldn't be where I'm at today. And so, if you're listening, you are responsible for being that for somebody else. Believe in somebody, give somebody a shot, take a risk, because we never quite know how things are going to work out. I'm so grateful for the people that came before me, believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. And I think
Mm.
we've got to keep paying that forward to each other as colleagues, each other as participants, and if we're in the space of harm reduction. So,
Yes, that was so good to segue through. I'm excited, Henry, because I feel like this is the natural progression for us to prepare for that live taping in May. Um, you guys, we want to remind you that May 10th, we moved our show to May 10th. This podcast will be live. And the reason why I say I think this is a great organic way to do it is it's hard. Henry getting up talking about yourself. I think we do it a lot. um, but even when we do it, it's still hard for me at times to show up authentically in front of people who I don't know if they're gonna judge me. I don't know what's gonna happen. But I think having the brave souls that join us for this conversation today and the next conversation that we have, we're gonna see that people have to take the baby steps that they need to see what this space looks like. So I want to thank Sophie again for being brave to show up on this platform to say, I'm going to open up myself and be vulnerable because that live taping, everyone, is going to be full of guests are going to be the audience of people who are living experiences daily. and talking with Henry and I on this podcast. And no, you will not be on camera. You will be able to talk authentically through the mic and the audience. But the way we're setting it up is we want you to feel comfortable enough to come into the space. So what I believe will happen, Henry, is this will help show people that when we say we are for the people, we mean it.
Yeah, yeah. If you could, Ron, bring up that third question for us again. I want to revisit that. I really like that question. We got Ryan Restore Jones, our administrator at Kentucky Harm Reduction Coalition, is in the backdrop, and he's the one that's doing all of this magical stuff on this platform. Now let's go to question 2.
It was 2. There you go.
Yeah. So, and I wanted to bring this up because what we're doing with this podcast with Sharita and I, these are conversations that we have every time that we're together, right? And how do we move from performative allyship to real risk-taking solidarity? We got to have these conversations. Maybe not on a podcast, but in the office, in our recovery meetings, at work, church, in our homes, with our families. You know, really having real conversations with people that look like me and having just as real conversations with people that I'm different than or that are different from me. That's all we're doing here. And so I gotta have those conversations, and having a real vulnerable, intimate conversation with somebody is risk taking. But in that's where that solidarity comes from. It's coming from aligning with folks that are unique, aligning with them so that we can create a community. Because it's only when we get together, that's where the power truly lies. And we want to access that power so that we can make radical change that Sophie, our previous guest, said. And I looked it up, the word radical. I just wanted to see what exactly does it mean. And it says affecting the fundamental nature of something. So radical means that we see on a fundamental level something is outdated. It no longer works. And so to be radical means to change something on a fundamental level. The most basic foundational level, change has to be made. That's what being radical is. Right? So we got to get that right, because folks see radical as just drug checking or just syringe exchange or safe injection, safe consumption sites. Yeah, that's radical. But radical it means to change something from its fundamental nature.
Absolutely.
That's what we're doing here. So don't get me all riled up, Sharita Marie.
Listen, I think you are going to get, because you just actually created the segue to the next guest, who is a very special guest, who is our colleague. So Ryan Jones, who is our office administrator and our project manager. So this is the thing, you guys. Ryan, Henry actually laid the foundation for this by saying we having these vulnerable conversations, having these conversations even in the office. Sometimes we look past the people we sit right next to and say, I'm looking for somebody. Then we go, wait a minute. Are you open to this opportunity? And what's the worst that can happen, Henry? No. That's what me and Henry always talk about when I ask questions. Well, what's the worst that's gonna happen? Somebody say no. So I did that. I said, you know what? We're working with our community. We're meeting people where they're at. A lot of people are apprehensive because they're learning about us and they're learning to trust the process. Let's start here. So, welcome, Ryan. Would you like to introduce yourself to our audience, to the world, and share you can share and decide which part of that group shows up for you as we get ready for this discussion.
Um, well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank y'all for having me. Again, my name is Ryan Jones. Everybody know me as Ryan Restored Jones. And I'm 34. And where where I fit in into the list is um, now, okay, y'all be careful with me because this is the first time that I'm sharing this with the world. And I place myself in fall in the category of a person who does have lived experience with substance use. For 9 years, I was addicted and was utilizing the substance of crystal meth. They call it Tina in the street. They call it ice. Um, and I also fall into the category of living with, for the past 11 years, since 2014, I found out that I was HIV positive. And okay, now that's over. Um, I um, I have come to grips with it. I used to want to keep it as a secret. I used to think that it was shameful. I used to carry the weight of it. I used to carry a lot of grief that went along with it. I carried a lot of thoughts, a lot of feelings, a lot of setbacks that happened along the way. And it was so much there to carry. And it got to the point where I was not only myself, but others that I know that were being impacted by this. And our walk wasn't the same, if you will. And so utilizing drugs that helped. I thought that helped. I thought that helped to cope with what was going on in my mind. I thought that helped subside. The grief that I was carrying from my mother and from her passing. I thought that for real, it was a lot to carry, and it was either sink or swim. And I one time was thrown into the 12 feet in a pool one time, and I did not, and the key word was not, know how to swim. And as short as I am, I didn't think that I was going to come out of that. But with other people that were around that knew how to swim and knew how to get out of a situation like that, coached me while I was under the water. And so I utilized that thought, and this happened when I was maybe about 12 or 13. And so I still utilize that event to help me to get through hard times, tough situations, times where I feel like I'm drowning, times where I feel like all of my life and everything that it consists of and everything that other people put on me, everything that goes on in the communities that I attach myself to, I utilize that thought of there are ways to be able to be coached out of this and be able to get to a point where now I can catch my breath, I can get some air and recover and move along past this.
Wow. Ryan, thank you for sharing. I appreciate you, dude. Like, for real. Just so people know, we did not tell people what they needed to share, how they share. When we say we practice harm reduction in this space, you show up. So, Ryan, kudos to you. for taking up space today and finding this platform that started with the idea with Henry and I sitting down saying, we gonna create space, dude. Like, I'm humbled. I'm not gonna keep saying we, like me and Henry was like we talk like we humbled, but it's just a dream. It's honestly seeing a dream come true. So okay, before I get off into that, I've got to get to this first question, Henry, because Ryan dropped substance you. He dropped so many things out there for our community to say, and we need to give space to that answer. Because a lot of us think that we are showing up and doing harm reduction.
Yeah.
I mean, which question, honestly, do we start with? Because I feel like I would love to go to the question, Henry, that you had, the second one. How do we move? Because look at all that he's spoke on. How do we move from performative allyship to real risk taking solidarity and harm reduction with the communities that you have shared being in relation with, being a part of? Ryan, do you think that we are showing up in that space and really doing the work?
I will say that I'm a transfer, so I'm originally from Virginia, and in the Richmond area, and there was a lot actually that was there, and I still have connections with a lot of people there, and these are actually my friends, people that I went to school with, people that I went to college with, that I sang with in the choir, or knew from being out at the streets or going to the club and things of that nature. These are the same people actually that are working in this field and working with the communities that I named, and that how do we move? And harm reduction, it was all new to me when I came to Kentucky. To like how Sophie said, she was living a lifestyle of total abstinence, and total abstinence in any area of your life can be hard to really manage, can be hard to navigate through. A lot of people actually, and I'll just get straight to it. A lot of people fail in total abstinence. A lot of people do. It does work, but there are a lot of do-overs, a lot of restarts that happen, and including with myself. And so seeing myself and other people go through that again, I go back to me being underwater, not knowing how to get back to the top to get some air. There are other ways, and there are many ways actually that help us to go past. There are many people, there are many organizations, there are many hearts that are out there that really are able and willing, have knowledge, have resources, have the capacity to love someone back and stand and willing to stand with them. And that's what I really take from my walk with recovery and harm reduction being put together, that even though that there may not be a quick response or a quick answer right at that very present moment, but in the meantime of finding the answer, finding the resources, finding the right person to talk to, or link to, or connect that person to, in between there is love, there's empathy, there is compassion, there is wisdom and knowledge that can be shared, there's lived experience that can be shared as part of and in conjunction with allyship. And actually a lot of that is very risk taking, and because first of all, me personally, when if I say that I'm putting doing something, I put my heart into it,
Mhm.
which means that I do it just like how my grandmother would say, "Oh, grandma, this banana pudding is good," and she would respond, "Yes, I made it with love."
Mm.
And so, if we are operating in love and out of
Mm.
love,
Wait.
and I'm a faith believer and I believe in God. And so, if we are operating really in the true aspects of how God wants us to be able to share love with one another, it says that the Bible does say, I know this ain't no Bible study or nothing, but the Bible does say to love thy neighbor as thyself. Are we really loving and taking the risk in loving? Are we taking the opportunity to really love our neighbor, whether they're
Mhm.
homeless, whether they have HIV, whether they are a substance user, whether they have aborted children before, whether
Mm.
there's so many things. But are we really showing the love and compassion really that we are really ordained and predestined in life to really share?
I think, I mean, Ryan, I'm gonna say this. It really runs into the blind spot piece, right?
Yeah.
You you answered it, and I'm looking at some of the comments. We got people commenting in here, and I know Odell said the problem with the recovery community is there is more judgment. So would you say, Ryan, as you were talking about, would you say one of the biggest blind spots is because we lack the capacity to love or show love because of judgment? Well, because that's, as you were talking and I'm reading the comments, I'm like, okay, that's a really good piece to point out. And with Olivia, who brought up the good point of we're leaving out all the substances. Pipes, exchanges, and sniffers need to be treated with the same resonance as needle exchange.
Yeah.
Criminalizes communities routinely just because of their choice of drug. So, are we saying that one of the biggest blind spots is judgment, is
Yeah.
shame, is stigma? Is that what you would think
Hmm.
about your communities and being able to show up as harm reduction?
And and really a yes to all of what you just said. But the beginning piece is the lack of knowledge. The lack of knowledge. There are so many myths about people who live with HIV.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many myths about
Yeah.
people who use drugs.
Yep.
I used to shoot up. And you'll see oh, their teeth are all rotten. I used crystal meth for 9 years. Took a good look. They're all
Yeah,
mine,
you
and
got
I got
good
some
too.
bedazzle on them too.
Yeah, you got some good too.
I use I inject. I shot up with needles. Look at my arms.
Wow.
There's none. So if you are taking care of yourself, if you are being loved and cared for, then the judgment is not there. The how the saying on the street now is, we listen and don't judge. And yeah, we say it and we laugh and joke, but in the back of your mind, there's still judgment there.
Mm.
There's still judgment there.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to add, well, thank you, Ryan. And it's been good over these last few years to be alongside you in some
Yes.
capacity and to lead and to also follow your lead and really get to know you on a professional level and a personal level. It's just been, you've really been a bright spot in my life. And I
Thank
mean
you.
that.
Thank
And
you.
I don't think that stigma and I don't think that judgment and stigma is judgment. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think
Mhm.
those are blind spots.
Mm.
Those are actually defense mechanisms. Those are actually protecting the me when I judge, when I stigmatize something, it's protecting me from really knowing where I stand with whatever the issue, whatever the concept is.
Mhm.
So the blind spot could be how I am not willing to see where I am just like the person that I cast a
Mm.
stone at.
Okay.
Now, that might be the
Yeah.
blind, that might, and not just on an individual level, but also on a cultural level, or even looking at, certain populations. That's what that stigma, that those judgment, that's protection.
Mm.
Mhm.
It's protecting me from my own vulnerabilities.
Mm-hmm.
It's from protecting me from
Mhm.
my own feelings. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Mm-hmm.
like, and it's like we have to feel safe. We have to be in a community, be with folks. If it's harm reduction, if it's recovery, if it's church, if it's at the office, if it's at the
Mm.
library, if it's at the gym, we have to disarm ourselves. We have
Mhm.
to take our armor down
Mm.
and see that, beyond the judgments, beyond the stigma, there's a lot of similarities,
Mm.
Yeah.
a lot of things that we carry that are very similar.
Yeah.
But we have to get in touch with our own truth, and those of us that learn how to swim, we know that
Yeah.
we've looked death in the face.
Mm-hmm.
You
Most
know,
definitely.
we've had to say some harsh goodbyes, right?
That's true.
We had to figure it
Yeah.
out on our own, but we jumped back in the water because
Mm.
we learned how to
Mhm.
swim so that we can go back in and teach others how to swim in the same water.
Right.
And I think so I think that's it. Like we can't meet judgment and stigma with resistance, because then we ultimately become who we're not trying to be. We ultimately become
Right.
those that stigmatize, those that judge,
Mm.
right? So we have to meet them with relevance, and we have to meet them with facts, because there are myths. We have to meet them with data. We have to meet them with
Mhm.
truth.
Yeah. And I like what you just said, that we got to meet people with the truth. I've had people too that didn't know anything, of my personal business, and even still now, because I was one of those users that I could turn it on and turn it off,
Mm.
or at least I thought that
Yeah,
I
not
could.
me, but it was on all the time. It was on all the time for me.
It was always on, but I had to put on something else to make sure that that
Mm-hmm.
my on switch did not want to turn off, because I had just put it down in the ashtray before I walked in.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to always keep a few different masks in my car, if you
Yeah.
will, or keep them in my bag. I had a mask for church. I had a mask for when I
Mm.
went out to the club. I had a mask when I went to class and sat in front of my professors. I had a mask for when I was at work, and I had a mask for when I was around my family. I had a bag full of masks, and it was hard to juggle all of them. But then when I started getting clarity, from utilizing the rooms of AA, and utilizing my walk in recovery, and finding myself again.
Mm-hmm.
I had to, one, not only, like you just said a few seconds ago, Henry, that it was some harsh let goes and some harsh goodbyes, and so in those goodbyes were my masks. And so now I can just show up as my authentic Ryan Jones, 5'6". Well, at that time I was 129 pounds, but now I'm 175. I can
Size
present
six though.
myself. Okay, I can in my mind I'm 6'2", but in real life I'm 5'6". But I can show up as Ryan Jones, and I don't have to pretend. I don't got to put on for nobody, and I
Mm.
can be my authentic self. And then now that I'm showing up as myself, and I get to talking and people are getting to know me. And then I slip in there, oh yeah, you know, because I used to use drugs, and the conversation goes a lot smoother now because now I can show evidence of harm reduction and better lifestyle management skills to allow myself to be able to show up and not have to pretend or have to put on a mask because I'm going in front of somebody that may judge me, that may look at me in a different manner. You know, and I had to deal a lot with that. Really, you know, I'm a church boy, and so I love going to church. I'm there. You know, I grew up where we was in church 7 days a week. You know, and this prayer meeting, that Bible study, that service, and I'm singing and presenting myself before God and before the people, but I wasn't presenting my real self. I had the talent and skill to do so, but I didn't have the confidence, the self-confidence to present myself the way I was. And you know, people throw in the cliche, oh God, God says come as you are. Yeah, but in my mind I couldn't.
Right.
And so that's how I actually I carried that over into my community. Am I able to really come as I am without you or anybody else going, oh, look at him. His jaw is moving. Oh, look at him. I heard that he had it. Look at him. Look at that one. Right there. Laughing and joking, you know, and making fun out of it when there was no hurt. There was a lot of pain and misery, hurt, despair, shame, guilt, remorse. It was so much. and now I'm the mockery. And to see now, really, people really, you know, to hit my inbox and say, hey, look, I know what we used to do and how we used to hang out, how we used to connect, you know, out in the streets with the bowl or with the pipe or with a torch, you know, or with a needle. But hey, I see what you're doing over there. And can you share some of that with me?
Wow.
I need some change. And that was because I let go of all of those masks and I was able to present myself the best way I know how. But I was able to present myself in a better manner now I can greet people without the couch jaw going on, and I can meet you with the authentic smile and compassion and love and empathy, because guess what? I've been there too. And there can't be no judgment, because if I'm gonna judge you for the same thing, then I might as well judge myself again.
Right. Ryan.
I'll be down in a rabbit hole and I ain't going back down there.
I know that's right. Ryan, listen, you and Sophie have filled up way more in this cup than was expected. If you had one more thing that you wanted to leave with our folks, that you want them to walk away with, that needs to be said when it comes to taking risk, what would you say?
It's first off that it's not a death sentence. Whatever you may be experiencing in life, and you know, I mean, I've shared too, but there are many other things. But whatever in your life, really, it is not designed to be a death sentence. You can actually show up and live in the condition that you are in, and know that if you show up and live, somebody is waiting to help, to assist you. There are people that are out here that are willing to stand and ally with you. They are willing to back you up. They're willing to make sure that you don't go down a rabbit hole. They're willing to make sure that your back won't get up against the wall and you won't feel like you're the only person left on the world that has to deal with this. You just know that we're able to show up and live. And it's not a death sentence. I'm gonna live as long as I can. I'll do, and I want to share everything that I've overcome to be a testimony to somebody else on a daily basis.
Thank you, Ryan. That's so beautiful. I
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Until next time, my friend.
Yes, indeed. I'll be backstage.
Ah,
Thank you.
Good to see you. Wow.
whew.
What's coming up for you right now?
I didn't know what to expect. Um, I just feel heavy with emotions, but they're good. Um, Oftentimes we do this work and I know for me, I feel like some days, is it hitting? Are we really doing something? And we are creating spaces like this for people to show up is a huge something. I'm also ready to fight even harder,
You ready to fight? You ready to fight what?
even harder.
Yeah.
There's an attack on the very work that we do and our commitment to creating more spaces for transformational healing. And we're not going to let that happen. We're not going to let what we do go down without a fight.
Yeah, there will always be an attack on a perceived threat.
Mm-hmm.
But what we got to figure out is, are we on offense or are we on defense?
Mm.
And what we need now more than ever isn't just individuals coming together,
Mm-hmm.
but corporations, nonprofits, aligning harm reduction with treatment and recovery. It's all the it's all the a different flavor of the same thing,
Absolutely.
right? So I feel that heaviness, but watching Sophie today, and I know I've known Ryan for a few years, like I said, but listening to Ryan,
Mm-hmm.
it just reiterated that how important this work is.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know who's going to get it or how they're going to get it or who's going to be impacted. That's not necessarily up for me or you to
Mm-hmm.
decide. But if we keep suiting up and showing up, then I'll continue to be amazed and honored to listen to people's stories,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so I'm feeling that heaviness, I'm feeling that sadness, and then there's this kind of gratitude
Yeah.
that's mixed up with it too.
Yeah.
And I think we need both of those.
Mm-hmm.
It's married together. It's inspiration to keep going. You know?
The importance of having the voices. There's no way I can talk about an experience that I'm not living and have the same impact. There's no way that I can make a decision Even as I think right now about the decisions on what to say next to an interviewer, a journalist, I think about the people who speak to their life and their living experience. It is, you're right, that need for both and. That need for both and.
And even when I don't make a decision,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have an impact. So, what kind of impact do I want to make?
That's it. What kind of
And,
impact?
and I think so. Here's maybe an answer to that question too that we spent some time on today about risk taking. What kind of impact do I want to make? What kind of
Mm.
impact do I want to make? And I ask myself that question: what kind of impact do I want to make? And if I shrink in that,
Mm.
well, here comes the guilt, here comes the regret, here comes the shame because I'm not living up to what I know is true for me and what I believe to be true for all of us.
Right.
So, what kind of impact for our audience? What kind of impact do you want to make? And I challenge you to consistently make the decisions that line up with the impact that you want to make. Now's not the time to shrink, y'all.
Mm.
Now's the time to expand. Now's the time to align and organize and to put ourselves with people in the communities that share the same values. Because alone, a person can only accomplish so little, but together, we
Mm.
can accomplish anything.
Right. And the way to do that, you all, some people may be sitting there, well, how do I do it? I've never, you know, engaged people in a way where they show up on a platform, to speak authentically about their experience. So as we get ready to close out this section, we can unpack that a little bit with you. So it's simple. You walk alongside people who Henry and I, for this podcast, had to be prepared for the no's. It's not anyone's fault if they don't want to join this platform. It's being prepared for the discomfort of rejection. Someone saying, no, I'm not going to do that. No matter how you present yourself, it is okay. In fact, when someone gives a response that doesn't feel quite good to me, it's an opportunity for me now to reflect on where I need to be in this. Because the no doesn't mean it's a bad thing. I'm bad, or we go into these moralistic like ways of looking at ourselves. It's good or bad. It's not that. It's an opportunity for me to see where I'm showing up and what else I need to that challenging question. It's an opportunity for me to check if my alignment is right with what kind of impact I want to make. Is this platform today so much more important for me or for the people who want to be a part of it? Because if I'm going to feel some type of way about it, then maybe I'm off. Maybe the impact and the goal and the intent is not quite right inside of me. That's one. And I want Henry to share how to prepare or how to get engaged in this.
And that's the thing. It doesn't have to be right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's showing up knowing that I'm biased. I judge. I can't turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually the mind doing what the mind does is to judge, is to scan and assess for harm, for threats.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay if I'm not entirely sure where I'm at. I don't use it as an excuse to not show up,
Right.
right? If I'm ambivalent, show up.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm conflicted, show up, right? Because, and again, like that's taking risk,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's not performative. Performative would be, all right, I'm well, I'm 100, here I am, right? But taking risk means I'm going to show up, and there might not be anybody that looks like me in this space.
That's right.
I'm going to show up, and I'm not maybe 100% agreeable on some of these ideas,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not going to let those things keep me away because showing up is more important. And when I do that, I grow. When I do that, I change. When I do that, I understand myself and I understand you more.
Yeah,
And that's radical.
that's
I'm
radical.
so glad Sophie used that word.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do the radical let's do the radical thing.
Yes. Yes. Listen, this has been a full I feel like our segments, they getting hotter and hotter and deeper and deeper. And because we consistently showing up, it's reaching far, Henry. We got some good news, you guys. We will be showing up on a new platform as well. Drum roll, please. We will be showing up on Spotify. Am I right? Did I say that right? You know this is
Yeah,
live, y'all. So
yeah,
okay,
you said it right. Yeah.
because these conversations, especially right now today, and that's not the only one. We're working on different platforms to spread this word to keep going. We're showing up and taking risk. If folks who do not have or present with some of the privileges that we have on this platform that Henry and I have can do it, well, damn it, we can too. Um, Showing up is a part of the work. It's also a part of the gift. We received beautiful gifts today that we had no knowledge that we were going to take, and this is it's a part of who we are. It's a part of me. It's a part of inside of me. It fed me. It transforms something in me that may not show up today, but it's showing up as time goes on in this journey of life that I have. So I am beyond appreciative for a gift that I couldn't put a dollar sign to.
Yeah.
This was it. So last things, Henry, you want to shout out what's coming up, our next show, our first in-person show, May 10th again, and do all that jazz because I'm full. My belly's full. I got to digest all this.
Yeah. So May 10th, about 5 weeks, Saturday, 5 p.m., Louisville, Kentucky. We will be hosting a live version of this. So come on down. Make sure you register. We've got the links in the bio. We're going to be meeting at our Health and Wellness Lounge, which is 721 South Brook Street.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the 40203 neighborhood. So please come through, support. We will also be live streaming every 2 weeks, Thursday from 1 to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are live streaming. Join us for however long you can. And it ain't nothing special. This is nothing special. We're just having real conversations. We talking about the things that we always talk about. And you want to listen. You'll want to be here because you will get inspired to hopefully have similar conversations in the circles that you sit in. So be blessed, y'all. Help pull somebody else up.
Yes.
Like Dory from Finding Nemo says, keep swimming.
Keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. See you guys later.
See ya.